And we're getting screwed. Again, I know it feels bad if you're MAGA to hear this. Just as painful if it was for me to realize Bernie Sanders sells out American workers left and right. This is happening right now under Trump. I know it's hard for them to take, but this is the fact. So Trump is screwing over American cattle farmers in favor of cattle farmers in Argentina. He's going to be importing a couple of $1 billion worth of meat from Argentina. And here's he was asked about this on the plane.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
What do you mean by being?
You know who else is dying? People in Venezuela that you're bombing and that you're sanctioning. Why don't you care about people in Venezuela? Why do you care about people in Argentina? Oh, that's right, because it's a bailout of his billionaire hedge fund friends. So I've told you in another segment, I told you this is all about Trump's billionaire hedge fund friends, Citron, who is responsible for his Secretary of the Treasury's, all his money he made off of shorting the Japanese yen. And so now they're doing a favor to the billionaire class, which includes George Soros. So they're doing all this to bail out Argentina because the billionaire class is invested in Argentina and they're just going to raid the U.S. Treasury to do it and screw over our farmers at the same time. You think I'm kidding?
Yeah.
The irony. Video of Elon Musk is one of his peak nerd moments as Doge celebrating with a chainsaw on stage with the Argentinian president Milei, the firing cutting of U.S. federal employees for government efficiency and cost savings. Half a year later, Trump is sending Argentina $40 billion in aid. So half a year after they did this, after they were cheering him on for cutting government spending and privatizing everything in Argentina and screwing over their own people, half a year later, they got to give him a $60 billion bailout. The first $20 billion came from the IMF, which Trump made the IMF give them. No end in sight, and to the detriment of American farmers and ranchers. Remember that? Okay. So the Treasury Secretary said, yesterday, Trump and I spoke extensively with President Milei and his senior team in New York. As President Trump has stated, we stand ready to do what is needed to support Argentina and the Argentine people. Well, Mike Drucker, great. He says, LOL, Milei gave Elon Musk a toy chainsaw to celebrate slashing the government, and now we're going to bail out Milei's country because he slashed too much government.
Yeah, Drucker's right.
Yeah.
He's a writer. You know him, Mike Drucker?
Well, thank God we're not just coming to the rescue of American billionaires. Now we're coming to the rescue of foreign billionaires, where it belongs. So this is Thomas Massie weighs in. He says, this is not America first. We don't need the U.S. flooded with beef from Argentina after our cattle ranchers have taken a beating over the last several years. Bring back country of origin labels, which means when you go to buy beef at a supermarket, they don't tell you where it came from. And who got them to do that? The American hitmen, because they don't want Americans to be able to buy American. They don't want you to know what beef comes from America or what comes from a foreign country. So you could screw over American cattle. So again, the billionaire class doesn't care about America. They don't care about Americans. They don't care about any country. All they care about is making money, and they don't care who it screws. And Trump is their puppet. So I know it feels bad if you're MAGA to think like this about Trump. That's how I felt when I had to realize about Bernie Sanders was also a con man and didn't give a shit about the people here in America. He was just a tool of the billionaire class, which he is. So he says, Thomas Massie says, bring back the labels of origin so people know where their meat's coming from and they can buy American. Also, pass the Prime Act, also America First and MAHA. So that's what he says. Okay. Scott Horton says, instead of promoting U.S. beef production, Trump now wants to establish preferred position for Argentine beef in the United States. Why exactly? Is that America? Is that what America First means? No, that is not what America First means. And so just to let you know about how good Argentine beef is, here's the U.S. Agricultural Secretary telling you that it's diseased. Ready? Here we go.
Argentina is also facing a foot and mouth disease issue, which we at USDA have to ensure that our livestock industry is secure. And I know you've heard a lot about the screwworm coming up from Mexico. Foot and mouth is a challenge too. So we're on it. We're on the front lines. We're going to ensure our livestock industry is protected. But this is a very nuanced, very complex market, but that we're moving in every potential possible direction to make sure we've got a good future for these ranchers.
Yeah, there's nothing nuanced about it. You're screwing over American ranchers in favor of billionaire hedge fund managers that are in bed with Donald Trump and Scott Bessent, his Secretary of Treasury. Remember, Scott Bessent was the right-hand man to George Soros. George Soros is invested in the hedge fund that they're bailing out with all this stuff. That's what's going on.
If you have a list of who's in that hedge fund, you have a list of the shadow government of the world.
That's right.
Because that's what that is.
If you have a list of who's invested in that hedge fund that they're bailing out, you have a list of the people running your shadow government. People like George Soros, billionaires like Citrone, people like Scott Bessent, all those people. So this is from a betrayal. Ranchers slam Trump's plan to buy beef from Argentina with U.S. tax dollars. After crashing the soybean market and gifting Argentina our largest export buyer, he's now poised to do the same to the cattle market, says an Illinois cattle producer. That's exactly what's going on. So why would America suddenly be interested in doing this? Do Argentine cows give oil instead of milk? I don't know.
No, the Argentina hides IDF war criminals. Imagine being so evil you had to flee Israel for your crimes against Arabs. Imagine how bad you have to be.
So U.S. ranchers and industry groups are responding critically to President Donald Trump. Now Trump is now screwing over the cattle ranchers, and they're revolting against Trump. The proposal that the United States would buy some beef from Argentina in a bid to bring our beef prices down while pursuing an up to $40 billion bailout for the South American country. It's actually 60. Trump made the suggestion to reporters on Air Force One Sunday. A few days earlier, he said that a deal to cut the price of beef was going to be coming pretty soon. Really? Okay.
They're fighting for their life, Jimmy, as if I give a I don't care about precious places like Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. What are the odds I give a fuck about Argentina?
That's right. What are the AP noted various reasons for stubbornly high U.S. prices, including a drought and reduced imports from Mexico. President Trump's plan to buy beef from Argentina is a betrayal of the American rancher, said an Illinois cattle producer and senior director of programs at the organization Farm Action. Those of us who raise cattle have finally started to see what profit looks like after facing years of high input costs and market manipulation by the meatpacking monopoly. Really. After crashing the soybean market and gifting Argentina our largest export buyer, he's now poised to do the same to the cattle market. Importing Argentinian beef would send U.S. cattle prices plummeting. And with the meatpacking industry as consolidated as it is, consumers may not see lower beef prices either. So this isn't going to help cattle. This is going to screw cattle producers in the United States, and it's not going to help consumers at all.
Should I start buying Bill Gates' tumor meat, Jimmy?
Washington should be focused on fixing our broken cattle market, not rewarding foreign competitors. With these actions, President Trump risks acting more like president of Argentina than president of the United States. The U.S. leader is a key ally of the nation's actual president, Javier Milei, whose austerity agenda has created the need for a massive bailout from Washington, D.C. Farm Action's proposed fix for this this is how you fix it. Tackle the structurally flawed system with 3 steps. You reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling, which is what Massie's calling for. You let people know where the beef is coming from so they can buy American. and that's for beef and pork, restore competitive markets by enforcing antitrust laws so the meatpacking industry is a monopoly, and rebuild the U.S. cow herd to achieve national self-reliance on beef production. We can make enough meat for our own citizens in the United States right here in the United States. We don't have to import meat. We don't have the United States buying meat from Argentina. So this is it. This is the MCOOL legislation, refers to the mandatory control of origin labels. So you get that, right? The group was far from alone in criticizing Trump's weekend remarks and offering alternative solutions. We appreciate Trump's interest in addressing the U.S. beef market, which has been producing all-time record-high consumer beef prices, said this guy, Bill Bullard. He's the CEO of RCALF USA, the nation's largest cattle association. He said, we urge the president to address the fundamental problems in the beef market, not just a symptom. The symptom is that the U.S. has shrunk its beef cow herd to such a low level that it could no longer produce enough beef to satisfy domestic demand. But the fundamental problem is that decades of failed trade policies have allowed cheap, undifferentiated imports to displace the domestic cow herd, driving hundreds of thousands of cattle farmers and ranchers and millions of domestic beef cows out of the domestic beef supply chain. That's what's been happening. And so what Trump is doing is making the problem worse. National Cattlemen's Beef Association CEO Colin Woodall said that the NCBA's family farmers and ranchers have numerous concerns with importing more Argentinian beef to lower prices for consumers. This plan only creates chaos at a critical time of the year for American cattle farmers while doing nothing to lower grocery store prices. Additionally, Argentina has a deeply unbalanced trade relationship with the United States. In the past 5 years, Argentina has sold more than $800 million of beef in the United States, and the United States has sold only $7 million worth of American beef in Argentina. Argentina has a history of foot and mouth disease with their cattle, which I already showed you, which, if brought to the United States, could decimate our domestic livestock production. In addition, the nation, so this is Trump not giving a shit, just like Biden, about America and Americans. In addition, the nation's beef packers and beef retailers have been allowed to concentrate to monopolistic levels, enabling them to interfere with competitive market forces. Attempting to lower domestic beef prices simply by inviting even more imports will both exacerbate and accelerate the ongoing dismantling of the American domestic beef supply chain. So that's what they're doing. They are dismantling our own United States domestic beef supply chain. Trump's signal that the U.S. may buy more beef from Argentina comes as poll after poll shows that Americans whose federal minimum wage hasn't increased over the past 15 years are stressed about climbing costs of groceries. In addition to beef, shoppers are facing higher prices for stuffs like coffee and eggs. So, wait a goddamn minute, says Anelia. It wasn't enough to give Argentina $40 billion. Now Trump wants to buy their diseased beef. F that and F Argentina. Here is the Argentina taking soybean and beef sales from America while also receiving $40 billion from Donald Trump. They were dancing. They're dancing as they crash the soybean market in the United States and screw over our cattle farmers. Here's how they were acting. There they are. Screw America. We're getting all American money to Argentina. The money's not going to Detroit. It's not going to Texas. It's not going to California. It's going to Argentina to screw over our own domestic economy.
Hey, guess what? And when you lose your shit as a farmer here because they fucked you in your own country, you can't stay at the YMCA because it's not a thing now.
That's right. So guess what? Trump says, in addition to everything else, tariffs on other countries saved our cattle ranchers. He said this on... Is that,
yeah, well, then
is that
you fucked him with this thing, idiot.
It's today.
So Spencer Hakelman says, one of the biggest cattle ranchers in America says this: Dear Trump, we love you. We support you. But your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina to stabilize beef prices would be an absolute betrayal to the American cattle rancher. This is one of the biggest cattle ranchers in America saying that to Trump. Here, so here's what Trump says. The cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the past 20 years. Terrible. It would be nice if they would understand that, but they also have to get their prices down because the consumer is a very big factor in my thinking. Hey, cattle ranchers, Trump says you are too stupid to understand that. That's what he's telling me. He's telling the cattle ranchers they don't understand their own business. That's what he's telling them. And Aaron Fischler says the cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand. Trying to imagine the reaction if a Democratic president utterly screwed American farmers with tariffs and then condescended to explain their own business to them while bragging about how much he's doing to help. Imagine if Joe Biden did that, the outrage that would be coming from conservative commentators.
I think they've all been doing that. The Democrats have been doing that, talking about how great they are while they're screwing you, and now Trump's doing it even better than them.
Even better. So it's technically, as Michael Lawrence says, it's technically still MAGA. So it's make Argentina great again.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I did notice that there is a loophole in MAGA. The thing that Reagan invented that, let's face it, Trump's took.
And so, when Milei comes to the White House, it's a little different than when Benjamin Netanyahu comes to the White House because Milei only wants us to launder his money. Big difference. So we're screwed. And we're getting screwed. Again, I know it feels bad if you're MAGA to hear this. Just as painful if it was for me to realize Bernie Sanders sells out American workers left and right. This is happening right now under Trump. I know it's hard for them to take, but this is the fact. And by the way, when he said we're going to have dollars pouring out of our ears, I'm pretty sure that's a side effect from the vaccine. But anyway, so anyway, what I want to be deported to Argentina. I hope if I get deported, I hope he deports me to Argentina so I can get some of this money.
Yeah,
that would be great. All right, so now you know the rest of the story. Now you know why Trump not bailing out California, not giving clean water to Flint, Michigan, not bailing out Detroit, not bailing out Georgia, not bailing out anywhere. He is nothing. He's screwing America at the behest of his billionaire class. That's what this is all about because the Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, used to work with George Soros, his right-hand man, and he's doing it for the hedge fund that George Soros is invested in, and it's headed by a guy named Citrone, who also was the guy who called Bessent and told him to do this. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. This isn't about Argentina. This isn't about the United States. This is about a shadow government of billionaires that actually run things and Trump using the Treasury to bail them out and screw over our own farmers, our soybean farmers and our cattle farmers. That's what's happening right now. And if you'd like to hear me tell jokes about this, come see me in Australia. New shows have been added. Come see me in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. The day after Thanksgiving, we're going to be doing a show in Burbank at Flappers. And then we're going to be in Waikiki in January. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Hey, Wall Street insiders are making a bold prediction. They believe gold could hit $7,000 an ounce before President Trump leaves office. And they're not guessing. Veteran investors, seasoned economists, and top money managers are watching the warning signs. Runaway debt, reckless spending, and a dollar losing value fast. Here's what's really telling. Even central banks are now moving out of U.S. treasuries and loading up on gold. They see what's coming. They know paper money always collapses, but gold stands the test of time. That's why I trust Monetary Gold. They've been in business for over 25 years, accredited with the Better Business Bureau with an A+ rating, ranked top 5 in the nation on consumer affairs and retirement living, and their team brings over 100 years of combined experience helping Americans protect their wealth. Look, if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't wait for the dollar to fall even further. The only way to protect yourself from a collapsing dollar is with silver and gold. Call 800-476-7790 right now or visit jimmylovesgold.com before the next big move in gold happens. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional before making an investment decision. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.